many ways to create a component? How many ways to create a component in React? If you're not able to speak, you can also type in the chat. I'll see. Do you know how many ways to create a component in React? Anyone know?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
Sir,
Bhagwan?
Bhagwan,
Okay. Yeah, tell me. How many
sir,
ways?
we can create component like a
Okay.
functional component, class component, and
Yeah.
component compositions, child components.
No, like only the first two you have said, right? Those two are correct actually. And whatever component composition and the child components are also a component. Okay, like they are also component, and they are like component composition means like how you are handling the data and functions inside the
UI
component.
element.
Yeah. So we have two ways.
Yes.
Triveni
Okay.
said two here. So we have two ways to create a component. Okay, let us assume a website. Okay, so we have a website, and inside the website we have a header, a side navigation. Okay, so we have a header. So this is header, and this is a side navigation. And in the similar fashion, we'll have a footer, and we might also have a main content. Okay, so this is a website layout, right? So how so with React we create everything, we treat everything as a component. Okay, header is a component, and nav bar is a component, main content is a component, footer is a component. So we should know how to create a component in React. Okay, like we should know there are two ways to create components: function component. Only two ways: function component and class component. So we can create a component by using functions or classes. Okay, let us assume a component like this. Component means a piece. It is a building it's a building block of our entire application or website. So by combining the components, so here you have four components, so that you combine the component to build your website. So it is a building block of your website. So in React is a component based UI library. So you have to um, create components. So coming to HTML world, do we have components? Do we have components in HTML, CSS, JavaScript? By using those basic technologies, um, like, do we have components? Someone? Bhagwan? Yeah, Sushmita said no. So in HTML we call them as elements. Okay, so elements. So elements are different and components are different. So elements, let's say you have elements. What is the difference between element and a component? Let's say h1 means element. We already learned, right? HTML H1 means element, paragraph element, div element. More we have like semantic elements also, we have header, footer. So we have elements. So side note, you can also call this element like this, like with tags h1. This is an element, h1 element. Okay, similarly you will have tags for all the elements, p tag, div tag, header tag, footer tag. There are many number of elements. If you combine elements, become component. So inside components, let's say you have all these. Okay, all this is one component, like you can combine. Actually I'll remove this footer header now, but let's say you have this. Okay, so h1 is element, p means element, div means element. So all elements, when you combine elements, it becomes a component. And when you combine components, then it become a entire website. Understand the difference between element and component. In html we will have elements. Okay, we'll not call them as components. And in react or like angular other libraries, we will uh, we will call them as components. Angular also component based library, so you will create a component. Clear everyone, clear? I'll
Clear, sir.
start. Okay.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
clear.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, thank you guys. The content having both open tag and closing tag called elements. Okay, and now I think you all remember that we have created a project before, the bootstrap project. Again we will create here. Okay, I'll quickly create a project here. We already have react starter, but I'll create a new project now. Okay, if someone did not attend last class, I'll again create. So let's go to white or wheat, whatever you call. Okay, wheat or white. So this is a build tool, which we can create the development environment and like everything, you create a project from very much faster. So we'll use this tool called wheat, and we'll create a react app. Okay, so sometimes I mean app means, see, you can also call a website as an app. Everything is an app. Okay, it's an application, the piece of software, it's an app. So it doesn't mean I know, like when I say react app, it doesn't mean that it is a mobile app. Okay, you can also call websites as apps. So react app means it's a website also. So I'll use this command, or I'll copy this, and you can create in your own command line tool, but I'm using terminal here. So in this training folder, I'm going to uh, create create a new project, and I will give the project name as react basics. Okay, rct basics. And the template I'm going to use is react. Okay, so anyone already tried bootstrapping a project by using white before? Like after my class, anyone tried creating a sample project using this build tool? Anyone? Who else tried? Sushmita said yes. No one tried. Anyone felt difficulty in starting the application
No, sir.
anywhere? Okay, only Bhagavan. Okay, Naresh said no. So I'm only seeing four people interacting with me, 4 to 5 people. Triveni, Sushmita, Naresh, Bhagavan, and DP. No one. Yashwant, have you tried? Yashwant, Viru, Chetan, you
No.
haven't tried.
Hello.
Hello, Naresh.
Yeah, yes, I have tried, sir. It is not difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who else? Okay, so we have this build tool. So by using that, we create a template. Okay, we create a React app, and let me go into that app. So okay, so you have to cd first, cd to that React Basics app. Like cd means change directory, and I'll just quickly show. So here we do not have node modules, right? Why we need node modules? Because whatever the packages that I am independent on, okay, so I am dependent on React and React DOM. So these are my dependencies. So all these dependencies should be present somewhere in our project. So when we run npm install, all the dependencies and dev dependencies, I'll tell you in future classes what is the difference between dependency and dev dependency. Okay. But now assume that this you are dependent on. So you want React, you want React
Hello?
DOM.
Maya,
Okay.
చెప్పు Maya. క్లాస్ అవుతుంది Maya నాకు.
Satish, can you go on mute? Yeah. So we are having dependency on these libraries. So you want React, right? So React is a library created by Facebook. So they have some code base. So that code, you are you are dependent on React. So this has to come into your project. So how it will come? By using the npm. So I told you already, npm is a registry node package manager. From the registry you will fetch the libraries that you are dependent on. So now if I try npm install, okay, npm I or npm install, so you will get a new folder, node modules. It will take some time, let us wait. Okay, so now you see we got node modules folder. So you should not touch this folder. You should not make any code changes in this node modules folder. Okay, so you just do npm install, and whatever the dependencies are there, let's say, let's take this example, React 19.1.0. So if you go here and you see, here you have React, and if you go to the package.json of that React library, you can match the version here, 19.1.0. So whatever the versions that are mentioned of the dependency in this package.json file will be downloaded in this node modules folder. So you have to download all the packages. So to download that packages, you run npm install. Got it? And now let's start the project. How you will start? You have the scripts here, right? Script section. So in this scripts, when you use like this, these are some of the custom scripts. So you have to run this dev. So it will call wait, and it will spin up a server for you, local server. So npm run dev. So the server will start in localhost 5173. Let's open this server. Okay, this is the basic project, and you can change the source app.jsx file to change this page. So what I will do, I'll go to app.jsx. You see this code, whatever you see, we have white logo, React logo, right? So here, this is white logo and React logo. So all this I will remove, and I'll just write a sample element here. A div hello React. Okay, the state we don't need now, that is React specific code, and we don't want logos and state, everything we removed. And we have this css link here. So in React, in basic html css, we'll use that link tag, but here we will use import statements. Okay, this has come in ES6, ECMAScript 6. That means, that also means JavaScript. Okay, so we have introduced import statements in JavaScript in ES6 or ES 2015. So at the year of ES 2015, JavaScript has some new changes added to the JavaScript. So in that we use import and export statements. So if you see here, we are exporting this, we are importing here. Okay, so I'll tell you like how it changes now. You see the change. So you write here hello React, and it will automatically load here in the website. Okay, so now I'll also remove. Okay, let us keep this app.css so that all our content is centered here. Okay, if you go to app.css, text align center. Okay, and you also have index.css. Okay, so body, you have place item center. So that's why this is in center. Okay, let us keep like that. So the main entry file, okay, don't be confused, you will have only one index.html. So if you completely check anywhere, there are no other HTML files. If you see clearly, no other HTML files, you will only have one HTML file. Why? Can someone answer why we have only one HTML file? Why can't we use multiple HTML files in React? Yeah, I'll answer, Naresh, to your question. What is ES6? I'll answer this. Can someone tell me why there is only one HTML file, no other HTML files? Can someone try? If you're not able to tell, just type no, I don't know, or something like that.
The React is designed to build a single page application.
Correct, correct. So we call SPA. Okay, what is
Yes,
SPA?
sir.
SPA means single page application. SPA. So React or Angular, whatever the framework you pick, those will create single page applications. Let's say when you click this, right? Let's say you have this website, okay, and you click something here. Okay, so did the page reload happen? No, right? Just a small portion of the page is changing, but your entire website is not reloading or refreshing. See, this is refresh. Okay, you see something here, it's refreshing, right? So when I click refresh, it's refreshing the entire page. But when you click somewhere the dynamically it is changing some of the portions of the screen. Let's see, let's I click, if I click here at the bottom, see how it is scrolling. So a portion of the page is changing. If I click config, see no page refresh. If I click here, anywhere I navigate, no reload. Why? Because this is a single page application, you have only one page, and by using routing, you are directly manipulating the web page. Like you are changing the page, you are by using the routes. You are, see here I click this, the route is changed, and based on the route I am changing the portion of the screen, not entire website reload. Okay, so that's why we have only one HTML file. And you see this line 10, root, right? Div id is equal to root. Our entire website will be loaded into this single div. Whatever the components that you write in app.jsx, or you might have more components. Okay, let me create a folder for components, and you write all your components here and load in this app. And this app is also a component. Okay, you load this app component here in the main. So what happens is it will pick the element. Okay, document dot get element by id root. What does this line do? It will select element by id root. So where is this root coming from? It's in the HTML index.html. You have a element with id root. Okay, so what it is doing, so in main.jsx it is rendering our app. Okay, by reading itself you can say. So you have this root element, and you render our app inside this root. Okay, you can remove strict mode as of now. This is not needed. We'll also discuss strict mode later. But you see, you get the element, root element, and you render the app inside this root element. Okay, so in the index.html you have this empty root element. So this is empty div, you need not to write anything inside this. So here, if you see inspect, if you inspect and see the elements here, so in the body you will have a div with the id root, and inside the root you have another div hello react. How this is came? Because this is app component, we declared this jsx in app component. Okay, we wrote this div um inside this we declared this element inside this app component, right? Just a minute, guys. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so everyone following what we are discussing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We are rendering.
uh, so we are rendering the entire app component inside this index.html root element. So this is the entry point. Like you write this html and you declare the root in the body, this div. Okay, and the main.jsx is the main file. So whenever the app starts, right, whenever I run, right, so you see here, like it will start, like it will start calling this main.jsx. So when main.jsx, like you render here, so this is something called like how React DOM creates a route. All this you don't need, but internally there is a DOM. Okay, React DOM. You will have a real DOM, virtual DOM. All those are advanced concepts. We don't want to get into that. But right now you understood the point, right? How our application is getting started. So now app component. I'll remove this entire app component. If you want styles, I'll put, but let's also remove the styles. Okay, so everything is removed, all the css styles. Okay, I'm deleting the styles, but you should have app.css. So this main.jsx is there, right? So here you import index.css, this css. So in app you will have app.css. So for every component write a separate css. So now I'll tell you. So classes. So coming to the point, now we understand the background. Coming to the point, how many ways to create a component? So we have two ways, right? Function and class. So previously, like past years, like 3-4 years back, we don't have that much like function components don't have that much capacity. Like how I say, like we don't have state in function components. Like let's say what, so you might not know what is state now. Okay, but state is something like, I'll tell you one small example so that you will understand. Okay, so let's take one switch. Okay, switch, and let's take one bulb and switch. This is a very small example to understand the state. Okay, so this bulb will so how you know this bulb is glowing or not? How you know?
By turning on the switch.
Yeah, so if you so let's say this bulb is glowing. Okay, this bulb is glowing. That means your switch is in what state? On state, right? Switch will have two states, right? On and off, right? So this bulb will glow when the switch is in on. Okay, let's take for example, now what is the time now? 9:11. Okay, so 9:11 the bulb is off. 9 o'clock 11 minutes the bulb is off. Okay, so the bulb state is off. So what I did, or someone from the team, okay, let's take uh, um okay, Satish. So what Satish did is, so he turned on this light at 9:12. So by 9:12 the switch is on. Okay, someone turned on. So what happened? The state
It will state will
change.
change over a time.
Yeah, over a time. So the state will change. So state change from off to on. Okay, so over a time, over a period of time, at this point of time, that means 9:11, at this snapshot of time, at this point of time, at this current second, the state is off. Maybe the next second state will change. Okay, so this is called state. I hope you all understood the state. State is nothing but the change or variable or like varies. Okay, it will change. State will change. So I think now you understood the state. So let's understand why this state, so why we use. So so every application also, We wanted to show some things, hide some things, right? So based on the state we have to behave, like we have to change our application. Okay. Like let's say when a button click happen, I want some information to be fetched from the backend, so we change the state. Okay. Or we do like these kind of things, we use state. So state is not, so we do not have that feasibility to use state inside function components. So this is 3-4 years back story. Okay. Stateless. So components are stateless function components. So you can only use state in class component. So that's why function components are stateless and class components are stateful components. So everyone used this class components only, these class components only, everyone used. They, most of them not used function components. So but what happened from, I guess I'm not I don't remember that much, but mostly 16.8 onwards, React 16.8 version onwards, you the hooks concept got introduced. Okay. So with this we can now use state. Okay. There are a lot of benefits if you use hooks. So that's why now function components also stateful by using hooks. So you have to learn all the hooks. So we'll be also learning all the hooks in the next classes. But now I'll just type the code how you can differentiate class component and state component. Okay. So currently everyone using function components. So I'll tell that function components, and next I'll also write a class component. So they have this backward compatibility, so that's why they haven't removed class components. So if you are interested and if you like class components, you can also use class components. But most of the libraries are using hooks. They are turning their components into stateful function components. So everyone, for example, if they have class components before, they are migrating that class to function component. Because if you use function component, the readability of the code will be increased. You will write very less code. Okay. In class components you will use this keyword, so that keyword is not there in that function component. So all these advantages are there if you use function components. Okay. So I'll write quickly a function component. So how you write a function component? You write a function keyword and you give the component name. So as of now, give the component name as the file name. Okay. And I'll tell you the difference now between element and component. Okay. You say you have a header, right? This is element, header, element. But how component? Component means you have the first letter capital. Okay. Every time when you write a component or when you create a component, you will write the first letter as capital. You should compulsory follow this. If you don't write the capital letter, React will treat that as a element, not a component. So that's why our function name here, this app is having capital A. Okay. So that capital A means you have to match that with the file name. No, not matching also, that's okay, but it's a best practice. Whenever you create a component, you match that with the file name and make your file name as also a capital, first letter capital. Following everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So this, in this way you create a function. If you create a function, you will return some JSX. Okay. What is JSX, I'll tell you in the next class. But JSX, as of now, you treat it as HTML only. Okay. HTML only. So now you export this component. You created a function component. This is all you need to create a component. You don't need 100 lines of code to create a component. So just you export default app. Okay, you export this app component that you created on the top here. Why you are exporting this app? Because you want to import this app in the main.jsx here. So if you can't export here, if you don't export here, you cannot import here in the main file. Okay, so if you want to use this function in other files, this function component in other files, you have to export. Once you export, whatever the file you wanted to use it, you import it in that file. Okay, so I'm saving this file. Now if I go into the website here, you see this hello react. This is actually the code that we wrote here, app component. So this is JSX. This whatever you are returning, that is JSX, or you can also call it as UI. Okay, so now h1 so I'll write one div tag. Okay, so let us create one more component. Okay, so let us create so we have this components folder, right? So I will create one file called button.jsx. So JSX means JavaScript extension. Okay, you can write React code in this file. So you can write JavaScript, React, everything. So here I'll create one more component now, button component. What does this button return? It returns HTML button. Okay, the difference you see now, this is small case, so HTML, but this is capital case. That means this is a component, this is a element. Okay, so I'm exporting this button, and here you write like whatever you call. Okay, you can call on or off, whatever it is. So in this way you can create a component. So now you see you exported this button component, and let's see here. So nothing is loading here, right? So app doesn't have a div. So I'll write some paragraph here. Basics of React. Okay, we have this basics of React here. So let me also remove this file, index.css file. We don't need it now. So no CSS. You have to remove it from the main. Here you imported, right? Remove that import. Okay, so this is a paragraph. Basics of React. So why the button component is not added into this page? Here you don't see button, right? Why? Because you created a component, that's good, and next step you exported that component, but this button component you should have used it in app.jsx. So here there we do not use that. So to use it, first we have to import, right? So here it is exported, but if you want to use it, write like this: import button from components slash button. So you imported here, and just below this you write that component name as a tag. You can write also as a self closing tag. Okay, so this component you write like this: button. So now you can see the button in the page. Okay, so in this way you write a function component. And button state and everything we'll discuss in our next classes. But now you know, right, how like we can write n number of times, like you can write multiple buttons. You can see there are 4 on buttons. Okay, so you can reuse a component like this by mentioning the tag name. Okay, now I will ask like how this button is getting rendered in this page, in this page. So this is an object. Okay, this whatever you create this function, right? So I'll tell you class component now, then we will come into that question, like how this is rendering here. Okay, okay, anyone feeling bored?
Confused అవుతుంది sir.
Sorry,
Getting confusion, sir.
sorry, can you speak loud?
Getting confusion, sir.
Okay, DP. So you want the difference between class and function component. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'll come to that point. So what is your confusion? See, we are not we are not writing a lot of code. Okay. So we just wrote a component, 2 files. So if you see here, 2 components, app component and button component. Okay, this is very small code. You have like 4 lines of code. Okay,
Yes.
and here also you have very small code. I'll tell you like why you are getting confused. So at what point can you tell me, like can you explain more how you are confusing?
No, sir. I'm confusing about from which we are from which
Importing and exporting, huh?
JSS. Ah, yes, yes.
Okay, so uh, so you okay, first first thing first, I'll give you few tips. Okay, first step, you create a component. Okay, create a component. So when you create a component, right, so you create a file, correct? So in that file you write a function component, and in that file only you export. Everything happens in a single file. See, you created this file. Let me take another example. Let me take one more like component, like card component. Okay, this card just shows the username and email id. Okay, so this is one component. So what I first did, I created a file. To create a component, what we will do, we'll create a file. See, I created file card.jsx. Okay, and now you create a function in it. So or write a write a function. In this you write a function called card. So now you know, uh,
Yes.
just a minute.
It is a
Yeah, so
function.
now by the name card, you write this function of the file name. Okay, so now
Yes.
you return a div like this. You return some JSX here, because every
Yes.
component will return some UI. So that's why you return some HTML here. So here
Okay. I have
you
to.
just write username, let's say like DP, and password DP at the rate Gmail, gmail.com. So this is your email ID. Okay, whatever it may be, name or something, and this is email. So this is a card. You see, this card is light in color. I am not
Yes.
sure. This is light in color. So you declared this card, but you are not using it. That's why it's light in color. If you see button, it's darker, like it's somewhat dark. But if you see this is very faded color. Why? Because it is declared but you are not using it.
Okay.
So how you will use it? If you export this, okay, exporting means, boss, this is available for any other files to use. So now I cannot use in this app file, because why I am using this button, card, everything I want why I want here? Because end of the day all the components are like, app component is a root component. So you will declare all components in your app component, and app is the root component which is loading here in the root element. So that's why, to use any component, if I want to use here, I have to export this. Without export you cannot use. So you export here. The export means you just write this line, default, export default, and the function name. So now you see this is darker color.
Yes, it is getting dark.
So now why we use this, why we write export? To use this component in another files here. Okay, so how to use it? You import and use it. Import card from components slash card. That's it. This is second step. So after exporting, so here in this file only you have to export sorry, I lost you all. Okay. Okay, so now have you understood? Um, Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So here
Yes, sir.
what I'm telling is, so here first to create a component, you create a file, write a function and export. Okay. And so when you want to reuse that component, to reuse a component, to use or reuse, whatever you call, you can call. What you will do? You will
Import.
import
Yes.
that
Import a
component.
import that component.
Yeah, and you use that.
Function name.
Yeah, you use that component. Okay, so I think you are clear here. Like, you export here, and so in the in this file only you export, and where you are going to use, you are going to use in this app component. App is also a root component. So all components are childrens of this app component. App is the parent, because you see app is here and all these other components are childrens of this app. Okay, so now you see, you can see in the website, this component is also rendered. I'll show you. Inspect. So you might not have these components as of now, but I'll show this. See, you see app component, all are components here. So this is entire website is app component. And when you go into this, you have button component, and this is card component. This is highlighting, right? When I hover, it's highlighting. Okay, app is a parent, and inside that you have two children components, parent child relationship. Okay, understood? Clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've seen some questions. What is the difference between class and function component, right? So we haven't learned the class component yet. We only know how to create a function component, but we don't know how to create a class component, right? So let us create one class component. Similar button component, whatever you have here, button, same I will write a class component. Okay, I'll name this new file button cls.jsx. Okay, button class component. Okay, so I'll keep side by side so that you will understand. So here you wrote a function, right? So how we will write a class component? We'll use class keyword. Here we use function keyword to write a function component. Use class keyword to write a class component. So class button, like this. So no parentheses. Okay, in JavaScript, functions will have this parentheses, one pair of parentheses and one pair of curly brackets. But here only one pair of curly brackets. You don't need a um here you don't need to write like this. It will give you error. Okay, just like class. So here you write so you, is it okay to write a return statement like this in class? No. Okay, I'll tell you that you cannot directly return, because here you are returning directly the JSX, but here you cannot return. And first of all, first and foremost, this class button is not a component. Even though you write, even though you write like write this, sorry, even though you write a class, this is not a component. Okay, when it becomes a component, you have to extend with the React base component. So now this is a component. When you write these two words, extends and React component, so this React component will come from the React library. Okay, so you might be confusing if I tell you all these things like this. So in this way, you will create a component, and you cannot direct return but JSX. What you have to do instead, you have to write a render method and you have to return a JSX. This will work. Okay, you have to, end of the day, again same, you have to export this button. So this is a difference. Okay, so like you're seeing, right, the n number of lines, the lines are getting increased. So you will have constructor, you will have component did mount component. So there are a lot of methods are there in this. So how these methods are coming from? Like when I write component, you see component did mount, did update, will unmount, did cache, all these methods. Where these methods are coming from? From this React base component. Okay, so this, in this way you will write a class component. And there is one more different is, you have to mostly use this keyword. So you have to use, always you have to use this keyword in class. So this is somewhat confusing for the most of the developers. So that's why we don't write class components anymore. Mostly we are currently using only function components. So now this is like the name of the file should not be a button. Okay, it should be the like this button class cls. So now the same component, this hello, I am a button, I'll tell you, I am a button. If you write like this, so now you exported this button, right? So button cls. So this is now a component. So you can use that button in this app, component. You can use that button CLS here like this. Now you see, able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You see this is a button class component, and I haven't written a button. Instead I returned a div, but I will write a button here like this. Spend some time if you don't follow this. So you see, this button class is a component, but we created this component by using class. So this is one way of another way of creating a class component. So how many ways now we have to create a component? So whatever the logic that we write in here, that is secondary, but you should know how to create a class component, how to create a function component. So just very basic things we are learning, this like very basically. Okay, like we are at baby steps. We don't want to enter into lot of mess. Just understand that how many ways to create a component. And this is a main difference, that if you put side by side, this button function component you create by function, by using function keyword, and here you use class keyword. And you should extend with this React component. If you do not extend, this button CLS is not a component, it's a class only. It's a basic JavaScript class. But that class, when that class becomes a component, when you extend it with the React base component. But here, when this function becomes a component, when you write the first letter as a capital. Okay, don't write like this small. Don't write like this. This is bad practice. This is not a component. This is a regular button function. Got it, everyone? I don't want to go into detailed into this. I just gave you the basic information why we have these two types of components. Previously, we have this stateless and statefulness, so that's why we did not use function components. But now, with the intervention of hooks, we are using function components also. Okay, what you understood from this today? That's all. Like tomorrow we will have more discussion on React, but what you understand from this? Can someone say what all you have learned today in React? Bhagavan, what you learned with this class?
Sir, how to create a project using white,
Correct?
and function components, how to create functions, and how
Correct.
to export that functions, and import that function in another
File.
file.
Yeah. And you also learned how many ways to create a component,
Yes,
right?
sir.
2 ways. And you also learned what is the difference between elements and components. And you also learned what is the significance of component. Like component is a building block of
Element
a, yeah. So let's
and
take, sorry, go
component.
ahead, you are saying something.
No, sir.
Okay, so everything, if you see this website, see, you see here, this left side, whatever the gray area, okay, the background is gray, right? This complete thing is a side navigation, okay, left side navigation. So this is a component. And you see here, This is header, it is a component. And this search is there, right? The search is also a component. And all this navigation is there, right? Top navigation, this is a component. Everything right side,
Everything
um,
is a component.
component. Okay, this footer is also a component. So in this way you will build website by using components. That's why you have to know how many ways to create a component. And we'll discuss more on components and how it is rendering in next class. I don't want to overwhelm you in with this, but I think we are all good here, right? It's been 1 hour already, like we are doing this. Okay, I'll
Okay.
just take 2 minute break. Like if you want some relaxation, let's take 2 minutes. And after that, in 10 to 15 minutes, I'll complete the css box model. Okay, we'll be learning css box model. Will like I'll be on the call. If you want to drop off or come again, no matter. If you want to stay here, no matter. Let's take a quick 2 minute break and come back and learn css, because I wanted us to also learn css, not only react, right? So we have to also learn css, html and javascript. And I don't want to waste time with only those languages like html, css and javascript. I wanted you to develop quickly, so that's why I'm teaching you react now itself. Let's come back at 9:46 or 9:47, and in 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, we'll complete css box model concept.
Okay.